In our previous videos, we calculated that one Lego brick costs about 10 cents, so for $1 you can get 10 pieces, and for 100 about 1,000. But unfortunately, Lego prices aren't just based on the number of pieces. This video we bought a range of Lego sets, from $1 all the way up to 500. We built and tested each one to figure out why similar looking sets can cost so differently and answer the big question, is more expensive really better? The LEGO Technic series is my absolute favorite, cause every model has its own mechanics, unique features and totally different ways of working. In past videos we've already built this tracked off-roader and even the massive LEGO Defender. That thing had so many functions, we barely squeezed them all into one video. That's why today we decided to compare Technic sets, though not all of them. This right here is the cheapest LEGO set we could find. After going through every store, every website and even marketplaces, we realized you simply can't get a LEGO Technic set for under $5. And since we needed something that costs just $1, we had to get creative. So here is a LEGO Duplo set, made for little kids. Inside there are some weird oversized pieces, just 9 of them, and of course an instruction manual, or so we thought. But nope, just a promo booklet, no actual instructions inside. Good thing the finished build is at least pictured on the box. Building this Lego took around 40 seconds. And in the end, we got this little blue whale, just like on the box. Funny thing is, even in a 9-piece set, LEGO somehow managed to include 2 alternate build options, though honestly they look more like childhood arts and crafts. So for $1 we get a decent quality model with no extras, no functions, just 9 simple pieces. All in all, not bad. And considering this is the cheapest LEGO set in the world, I am giving it a solid 7 out of 10. The cheapest LEGO Technic set already costs 5 times more. It's this little forklift, which sells for $5 if bought separately. It also came as a bonus with this LEGO Technic magazine. For $5 we get a blister pack with 73 pieces. The parts are pretty standard for a Technic set and the manual is printed on a single fold-out sheet. Well, at least they included one this time. Building the forklift is noticeably more complex. Not only are the parts smaller, but almost every piece serves a specific function. That's the whole charm of the Technic series. After about 5 to 7 minutes, we ended up with this tiny but super fun little forklift. It even includes a LEGO pallet for lifting loads. The model has just one function: grab the beacon on top and you can raise or lower the forks. In terms of quality, it's on par with larger sets. And considering the price per piece ratio, it's actually better than average. So as for $5, the set easily scores a 9 out of 10. $10 is, in my opinion, the most typical price for a set. Not exactly cheap, but still affordable for most. And here we've got this little dump truck, which looks pretty good. First of all, it comes in a box, not in a blister. Inside we get 177 pieces, roughly twice as many as the last set. The parts are bagged, there are a few stickers, and for some reason 2 instruction booklets for such a small set. With mid-size and large sets, I prefer this method. First sort all the pieces and only then start building. That way you're not distracted searching for parts and you can just enjoy the process. By the way, the first instruction booklet ended right in the middle of the build, completely out of nowhere. And the second one picked up just as randomly. Really odd, especially for a set this size. The build itself didn't take long. About 20 minutes later, the truck was ready. It drives, the wheels turn with a gear on top, and the dump bed can be loaded and tipped, just like a real one. So now we've got 2 working features, plus you can stick a minifig in there. The detail is solid too, I'd say the price is totally fair. So this one also gets a 9 out of 10. So far, every set has been worth its price. And now it's really interesting to see what this huge tractor, which costs 10 times more, has to offer. The box size is impressive, and on the side it says there are some pneumatic functions inside. Normally this set costs a bit more, but we managed to grab it on sale for exactly $100. On the box there's a picture of a big green John Deere tractor, the dream of every grown-up kid. I am guessing this thing is packed with mechanisms. Inside there are so many parts they take up half the table.
12 bags total.
Plus an extra one with some special brick. Looking at the size of the wheels, you already get a sense of the scale. And imagine just how long it'll take to build. The instructions come sealed in a cardboard envelope. And, believe it or not, there's only one, a pretty thick booklet.
The whole build is split into 4 stages, just like the Defender.
So, let's start with stage 1. Here we've got 4 full bags of parts, and even laying them all out takes up a ton of space. The build begins with the main frame and the most basic mechanisms, like the differential. At this stage, everything came together easily and was really fun, since most of it was mechanisms. For example, the body steering system, drive shafts and other little details. The second stage of the build includes that mysterious little bag, and inside, wow, we found some rubber tubes plus a small pump. I think you've already guessed this must be the pneumatic system, but unfortunately at this stage we only used one tube and the pump. Looks like the rest will come later. After finishing the remaining mechanisms, we moved on to the more boring and time-consuming part, building up the body. That carried on into stage 3 as well, but by the end of it, the tractor finally started to look like a complete model. Meanwhile, I felt more like a wreck myself. I'd already been building Lego for 6 hours straight. Finally, stage 4. At last, the pneumatic system started coming together, and after about 20 minutes, we had something assembled.
Here is a whole network of silicone tubes. And now the main thing is not to mess anything up, otherwise the whole system will fail later.
The pump pushes air through the lines, moving the pneumatic cylinders that make the mechanisms work. Even though I was exhausted, this was easily the most exciting part of the entire build. One more hour to finish the hook, test the system, and time to finally call it a night. So, what do you actually get for $100 in Lego? We ended up with a big impressive tractor, packed with mechanisms and really well designed. Compared to the smaller sets, this thing feels on a whole different level. But the most important part are the functions. The gear on top controls the tractor's articulation, so it bends in the middle and makes sharp turns, driving easily even through super narrow spaces. Up front there's a blade that you can adjust with another gear. Inside you get a proper driver's seat, and under the hood a fully working 6-cylinder engine. Flip it over and you'll see 2 differentials, one on each axle, plus a solid front axle that makes tackling obstacles smooth and easy. And the star of the show, the pneumatic claw with 3 separate levers. Pump in some air and you can open and close the claw, move it back and forth and lift it up and down. An incredible feature that's equally fun for kids and adults. With all these functions, this set is impossible to ignore. It's built to be played with. In total, the set has almost 1,500 pieces, and all of that combined makes it the clear leader. For this one, I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10. And in this box, the Lego set is almost 5 times more expensive, but there are only about 500 extra pieces. We specifically chose the most similar models to see what makes this one worth the price of 5 previous tractors. The box looks almost the same. Inside it's nearly the same number of parts.
And even the booklet is almost the same size.
At first glance, it all feels pretty much the same.
Even the wheels are identical, the only difference is the rim color.
The only real change is that this build has just 2 stages, not 4, and the first stage is about 3 times bigger than the second.
And that's gonna make building way harder. Too many parts everywhere and good luck finding the right one.
But why make theories when we can just test it in practice? So, there really are that many pieces here. Even laying them all out on the table was a challenge. The first 2 hours went just into sorting, and then starting the build wasn't easy either. Unlike the previous set, everything here dragged on much longer. I didn't even notice when it got dark outside, and I was still at the very beginning. The parts are harder to find, the build itself is more complicated, and in many places the pieces were just tough to connect. Maybe it's a design flaw, or maybe they made it intentionally difficult.
Even though there are a lot of parts, you can already see loads of mechanisms inside the model, like steering on multiple axles, those blades that move up and down, and a bunch of gears hooked up to a motor. The motor of course goes to the battery pack. But what exactly it's gonna drive, I honestly still have no clue. So yeah, that's tomorrow problem. And me, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to bed.
The next morning I kept going. If the previous LEGO set took me around 8 hours to finish, here, after 8 hours, I hadn't even reached halfway. But then it got a bit easier. The most complicated inner mechanisms were already behind me. Night fell once again, and I was still building and building. Only by late evening did I finally finish, just the first part of the build.
But that first part is probably 70, maybe even 80% of the whole model, because honestly it already looks almost complete.
The second part is much smaller, just the lifting mechanism and the hook. And there it is, finally done! Here it is, a $500 LEGO set, and trust me, there's a lot to see here.
But we will talk about it outside, because I'm already tired of sitting at home.
This tractor looks way cooler than the previous one. The model is much more detailed, and the bodywork and little features are done with way more precision. Under the hood there's a motor and a battery pack, plus a blade adjustment and 2 manual controls for the crane. One of the most impressive mechanisms in this model is the option to connect the rear axle steering with different modes. Like this, the tractor turns only with the front wheels, which feels normal. Move the lever to the left, and the rear axle turns the same way as the front, so the tractor shifts diagonally in what's called crab mode. Move it to the right, and the rear wheels turn the opposite way, so the tractor can maneuver in tight spaces. Systems like this are actually used in real construction machines, and here it's implemented in a really awesome way. Is that all? Not even close. Flip a lever and the motor kicks in, at first just spinning in neutral. But as soon as we push down the second lever, the cab starts rotating a full 180 degrees. And it swings back just the same. But that's still not all. On the other side of the crane there are 2 more levers, one for rotating the tower, the other for raising and lowering it. Maybe the video won't fully show it, but when all these mechanisms with dozens of gears work together in real life, it's honestly breathtaking. And when you remember that you built it all yourself from a pile of plastic, it feels even better. Everything works exactly like the real thing. To test how much weight the crane can lift, we used a nearly weightless foam platform and batteries. Each one weighs about 25 grams. Let's try 3 at once. It lifts them. But 6? Not really, it picks them up off the ground but just hangs there. Looks like 5 is the limit. And not to keep you waiting too long, I'll say right away that the pneumatic system on the John Deere lifted 5, 8 and even all 12 batteries. So in this aspect, the winner is obvious. Even more impressive, the pneumatic claw managed to lift a full can of Sprite and even a huge, almost 1-liter bottle of water.
We basically just hit the physical limit of the claw itself, otherwise it probably could have lifted even more.
And that's it for the functions. On the road, the John Deere feels a bit better. The solid axle and higher clearance really help. The class scrapes even on small bumps, so the outdoors isn't really its thing. But in terms of detail, the Clace is way more impressive. It actually looks like the real machine. The John Deere is cool too, but it still feels more like a construction toy. But all of that only matters if you forget that the John Deere is 5 times cheaper. And to me, this is exactly the case where paying extra just isn't worth it. Both sets are great in their own way. So today's most expensive set gets an 8 out of 10. If it were cheaper, I'd give it an 11. And if this video gets 5,000 likes, we'll buy LEGO sets that are twice as expensive and see what LEGO can do for $1,000. See you!